These are the youngest drivers on the grid this weekend, starting ages very, very young compared to the senior drivers all the way throughout this weekend. The Mini drivers starting the ages of around about 8 to 12 years old, and 47 of those drivers entered into this weekend. 13 nationalities from around the world coming together in the Mini X30 categories. The engines, the displacement 59cc, only 10 horsepower, but trust me, they're very, very quick. The minimum weight 110 kilograms. That is kart and driver. All drivers need to meet that minimum weight of the kart. When they come in from qualifying, that's the most important part. The tyres that they're using this weekend, they've only had to use the dry set, the Comet K1DMs. They did have the wets available to them, but they didn't need them. 2 sets of dry, 2 sets of wets have used over the entire weekend, and you'll find that a lot of them have saved a completely unused set of tyres for this weekend. The championship standings as it stands after all the qualifying heats and of course the Superheats, Zdenek Babicek is your current championship leader with 10 championship points. Sayer there with the 9, then it's Romeo Mello, Bruno Priam, Austin Newstead and Zach Green with the Will Green, I should say, with the 5 championship points to his name. The drivers will make their way out to the circuit now for the start of their final, but a reminder of what these drivers have done over the course of the weekend. Why has Zdenek Babicek been on that top spot? Well, he qualified 7th on Friday. He's had 2 second places and a race win. But in the Superheats, he got a second as well. 6 points maximum to his name. He puts himself on that top spot for this race. Jarlath Sayer, he qualified 2nd. He has had 2 third-place finishes and a race win. He also finished 2nd in his one. He had 8 points, which was joint with Romeo Mello. He qualified 5th on Friday. 2 second places and a 4th, but he won his Superheat. That's what puts him there 3rd on the grid for this one. He'll have Bruno Priam starting alongside. Bruno Priam not having the best qualifying for him. Qualified 12th on Friday, but had a 3rd place, a 5th place, and then a race win. He also won his Superheat. He starts on a fantastic spot there. Newstead, drama for Newstead. Qualified well, 3rd place, a race win, 2nd, but then got a penalty in his 3rd race. That put him down a little bit in the order. He had to fight back, but he starts this one on that 3rd row of the grid with Will Green alongside. It's going to be an exciting one. Andrew Mather, you join me back in the commentary box for this one. These are going to be the longest races these drivers do right now. 11 laps of racing and around a 1,700-metre circuit. It's going to be a challenge for them.
It's going to be a real challenge for all of the 36 drivers who've qualified for this final. This is where the pressure really builds now. We're talking all through all of the heats and the super heats so far about drivers trying to keep themselves at the front, get that consistency in place. But, 25 points, 25 championship points on offer for the winner of this race. For the first time we've said that in 2024. 4-round championship. You never know. This could be the race that we look back at it in the summer and go, that was the decider, that was the difference maker for whoever our champion may be. A lot of drivers, of course, moving on from the minis, going into the juniors. Our reigning champion, Jesse Phillips, is one of those. And I think that adds another little aspect to this race, Anthony, that you look through the best final race positions for our drivers from last year, if they were competing last year, of course, and none of them have really experienced that very much front of the order experience of taking one of the race wins. Our pole sitter, for example, the best results for Babicek last year was 7th at Marienburg. So it's a new element for all of the drivers. Can they keep the pace going? Can they stay in control both of kart and mind to win out in this race?
Certainly so. Grandstands filling up around the circuit. The most anticipated races over the course of the weekend, the finals, about to get underway. The wind levels here are, astronomical. The tailwind that these drivers have got going down the main straight is immense. Yesterday, it was completely the opposite direction. It was a headwind going into it. But certainly, for all of our drivers this weekend, it's going to be a challenge. Zdenek Babicek then starts this one on the front row of the grid. There he is on your screen, just having a word with our technical director, man in charge down there, keeping an eye on all the karts, making sure they are working and fully legal out on track. As you can see, everyone getting themselves hyped up for this one. Zdenek Babicek, the driver from the Czech Republic, certainly looking forward to this one. What can he do? Fantastic results over the course of the day. Only the 1 race win, but that's all it's needed to start on pole position. And this is the one that you need to win, isn't it? Get those maximum points.
I said the consistency is very much there with Babicek so far. He's finished no lower than 2nd in any of the races. Here's a driver that I'm looking forward to see race, though. Anthony Jarlath Sayer, second on the grid for this final, was one of the fastest drivers in timed qualifying earlier on in the weekend, has experienced taking the checkered flag so far this week, did that in the third round of the heats, and second earlier in the Superheats. A very consistent karter, a very consistent team as well in Fusion Motorsport. They've got to be among the favourites for this race.
Oh, certainly so, indeed. Wasn't the fastest overall in qualifying. That went to Will Green, who's actually going to start this one on the third row of the grid. There again, you can see another shot there of the grandstand, just slowly filling up there with people eager to watch this race. It's a tense time for many of our drivers on this one, no more so than for this man here. Romeo Mello took a win earlier on. Like we were saying, in that Superheat 1, he took the win. Looking forward to this one. It's been a relatively calm first half of the day, I'll say, and that never is a good thing when it comes to the finals because they've been eyeing up and edging up to all of the exciting bits in the final. We saw crazy finals at the Winter Cup, didn't we, at Valencia a few weeks ago. Round 1 here at the IAMA Euro Series. Is it going to be any more exciting? Someone who could make it exciting is this man here, Bruno Priam, 12th in qualifying, like you said earlier, only the one race win as well, but he also won his Superheat earlier on. So again, knows he's got the pace to get it done, knows he's got the pace to really push through this order. It's hard to pin it on one driver in this, isn't it?
You could throw a dart at the top 6 and anyone could win this race, and probably beyond the top 6 as well, based on the form that we've seen here in Zuera and also those who competed in Valencia as well, particularly Bruno Priam. He had a very strong Winter Cup. He's shown that in race trim, he has been very quick so far this season. Interested to see how this young man gets on. Austin Newstead for Team BMR starts the race from 5th on the grid. Could have been pole position in the Superheats, but a late post-race penalty demoted him down the grid a bit. Look out for Newstead in the second half of the race. What's been typified of his season so far here at Zuera and at the Winter Cup in Valencia is he takes a couple of laps to get going, but when he does get going, my goodness, he is one of the fastest drivers on the grid and definitely a threat there from P5.
Certainly so. Probably one of the most hyped up drivers on that grid, and he's got a prime starting opportunity here, third row inside line, and we've seen people benefit from that position. Another driver who you've got to keep a close eye on here, Will Green, the driver who put it on pole position in qualifying, 2 qualifying heat wins, a 10th in his second. That was after a penalty, of course, but only finished P5 in his Superheat. It still puts him in a good spot for this one, and again, you can't take it away from him. He has been a driver we need to keep a very close eye on, especially in the future years of racing as well. The row just behind, row 4, Stan Rajaski and Maxim Bobrajov. Again, both of those have been at the sharp end of these races. They've been around first, second, third in these Superheats. It's all just, you know, when it comes to those final laps, it's just finding that positioning on track. There is Stan Rajaski, who starts this one on the 4th row of the grid in 7th place, the 8:41. Some fantastic results over the course of the day. 8th in qualifying, 2 4th places and a 6th, 4th in his Superheat earlier on. Can he get away with a podium in this final?
Could quite possibly do so. It's another one of those. He seems to be one of those drivers who's crescendoing to the end of the round, which is always a good thing. I think he's potentially going to be helped as well. It's one of those that could be a help, it could be a hindrance, but the fact that he's got one of his Fusion Motorsport teammates alongside him, there he is, Maxim Bobrashov. That could be a point where those two drivers have talked to each other before. They've talked with their mechanics. They've talked with their engineers to go, right, this is how we're going to play this race. It's a long race. Let's work together as teammates and try and move our way up the field, knowing that you've got another one of your teammates in Jarlath Sayer right at the sharp end of the grid.
We've got about 4 minutes or so before the race gets underway. While we do that, we'll look a little bit further down the order. Christian Kobe here. Again, another driver who has had some decent results over it. Qualified 4th overall for the Irishman. His best result's been a 3rd. He did that in one of his qualifying heats, and he also did that in the Superheat as well. So he knows how to pedal this wagon. He knows how to get around there. And again, another look. The breeze that these drivers have got to deal with around here. They're going to have crosswinds around some of the corners. They're going to have headwinds through some sections. But down the main straight, that's the most important one. It's a tailwind, so they can really get a good push out of that final corner. I've
been impressed with Christian Kobe's fight back. He had a very difficult start to the qualifying heats, didn't he, yesterday with a spin on the formation lap. So there was a bit of a worry. Is he going to be able to get back in a position? He did, and he's been very quick since. Attack is the word I'm feeling for Navarro Morales. He's going to give it full beans in this one. He's been putting in some great overtakes so far this week. It's maybe a bit of an outside bet, perhaps. 10th on the grid, outside of row number 2. But he's been starting races very fast. If you start seeing that 867 coming through the grid, being in the top 5 at the end of lap 1, it's game on for the Spaniard on home soil. Or a lot of Spanish drivers here this weekend, of course, all of them want to take the spoils of karting war out there on circuit. Oliver Warner as well, Anthony, starts this race on the 6th row of the grid on the inside. Something clicked, I feel, in the 3rd round of heats for Ollie Warner yesterday. He's looked very quick since. He's another one of those drivers who's going in the right direction in terms of race finishes. Again, 6th row, outside bet, but if Oliver Warner can pick his way through, he's got experience of winning races in this series, of course. He could be another threat there from 11th on the grid.
Certainly so, but that's going to be a tall order. That is so many positions you need to gain. And remember, a lot of these drivers will have saved their second set of slick tyres for this race. I did have a brief look down at the dummy grid before the drivers head out. There were many on a brand new set of slicks. I'll confirm who exactly it was. There you just saw a brief glimpse of the 840. That was Freddie Wood, who starts this one alongside Ollie Warner on the 12th spot of the grid. There's not long now to go before the start of this race. The grid has been cleared, so mechanics no longer allowed to stand on there. You can see we're about 1 minute away from getting going. You can see there some of our officials getting the 1 minute board up at the start of the field. There is Mini Ross getting himself ready. It's not his official name, I can tell you that right now, but that's usually the job of our judge, in fact, Ross Upton. But Mini Ross getting it done nicely out there on the track. Not long left to go. The first finals of the year. Anticipation is high. I think the expectation of a close battle, Type 4, is on the card, but there is that threat of just a driver breaking away from the rest of the field. But in the minis, we don't generally tend to see that.
No, and especially here, because it's such a fast circuit, the slipstream is very powerful around here, particularly once the drivers come out of turn 13, out into and through sector 3. You're flat out for probably over 700 meters or so as you sweep round 14, 15, down this massive long straight here at Zuera. And then still continuing around turn 1 as well. You don't actually hit the brakes until you get to turn 2. We have seen drivers exit those last couple of corners with, what, a half-second lead that has completely disappeared by the time we get to turn 2.
Certainly has. Whistle blows then, and we are about to get underway for the first final of the year in the Miami Euro Series. It is Mini X30 as the drivers make their way off the starting grid and on their formation lap. Let's take you through then the full starting lineup for this one. 36 karts have made it into this final over the 50 that entered into this weekend. It's Zdenek Babicek and Jarlath Sayer starting this one on the front row of the grid. Romeo Mello and Bruno Priam go from row 2. Austin Newstead and Will Green round out the top 6 on row 3 from Stan Rajansky and Maxim Bobrikov on row 4. It's Christian Kobe and Alvaro Morales who round out the top 10. Oliver Warner and Freddie Wood go from row 6. Alvaro Perello and Tony Cachafero go from row 7 with Ivan Gonzalez and Aurelio Longatano on row 8. Harley Musk and Ludwig Granqvist, they ran out the top 18 on row 9.
Anton Bouchard and Sukhmani Kira go from row 10. Noah Grenier and Mathis Braggio start on row 11. Colby Patterson and Antoine Vanon start on the 12th row of the grid. Daniel Ferguson and Harry Williams form up an all Great Britain row 13. George House and Luca Pavel start on the 14th row of the grid. Lewis Bierland and as Austin Gibson start inside the top 30 on row 15. Pato Medina and Bruno Greenling start on row 16. Samuel Hugon and Nahil El Gahoudi both race through the Superheats to get into this final. At the last minute, they start on row 17. The 36 karts field is completed by Max Cruz and Patrick Christensen. There are two of the best minds in the paddock. Race director Martin Bean on the right-hand side of your screen. Chairman of the stewards, Chris Lambrecht on the left. There is nothing that those two gentlemen don't miss. And, of course, the race control team of the circuit with 30 cameras around this circuit capturing every overtake, every incident, every little blade of grass out there on the Circuito Internacional de Zuera. There is our team, headed up by Joanna Falcao. In the centre, our head of race control, ably assisted by Gonzalo Planta and Sarah Blanco for this weekend.
Yes, indeed. They've been working hard all the way throughout. They're spotting issues out on the circuit, certainly with the helping hand of race director Martin Bean on there. Just before we get this race started, again, a big shout out to the track team out there who've been working hard furiously throughout the day. Same for the medical teams and as well as the camera crews. And as well to the viewers who have been watching at home. If you are watching on YouTube, Facebook or on motorsport.tv, welcome to the IAME Euro Series. Welcome to the finals. They're about to get underway here at Zuera, the first round of 4 in the IAME Euro Series in 2024. It's Franciacorta in Italy for the second round, but right now we deal with Spain and we deal with Mini X30 as the revs begin to rise into the tram lines. Are we going? First time of asking. Yes, we are. It is green flag and away they go. Down in towards turn number 1. Great start then from the front of the row. And Zdenek Babicek holding on to the lead of this one. Watch the outside row. What Jarlath Sayer can do from the outside there. Some cars getting spat out there at the exit of turn number 2, but all of them getting round cleanly. But crucially, it is a fantastic getaway from the front row.
Mello up to second place already. Austin Newstead had a good start as well in third. There's one driver off towards the middle of the pack. Turn 4 is going to be a hotbed of activity across the course of the next 11 laps, but apart from that off-track excursion, I think all 36 karts are running as they go through turn 5, out of turn 6 through sector number 2 into another one of the main overtaking zones, the second hairpin. That's a beautiful move down the inside by the 814 of Oliver Warner. So yes, Oliver Warner has had a great start as well, Anthony. We said watch out from him from P11. I think he's already got himself up to 4th place.
Yeah, that would be an incredible drive in the early stages of this race. But again, you can benefit that with the fact that the track is so wide here. You can get so many of these karts side by side to get a move down the inside through turn 2. Out of the final corner, then they go. Colby Patterson's under investigation. That'll be for the start of the race. You can see the furious hand gestures coming in then from the mechanics, just showing, you know, keep going, keep pushing as we go down in towards turn number 2 once more. So it's Babicek who leads from Mello, Newstead, Warner from Brun, Bobachov from Rajaski, then it's Sayer, Green, Morales, the top 10 at the moment. Eyes on the top 2 here. Zdenek Babicek and Romeo Mello as they push away from the rest of the field. They've got a 3/10 gap. That's not good enough, though. Newstead and Warner, they will close in.
They will indeed. So the first lap completed. Drivers have survived it. They've got through. They've kept their noses clean. And now they get into the meat of this race, the longest race for our youngsters this weekend. Drivers racing from, well, if they're in the year of their 9th birthday through to 12 years of age. Zdenek Babicek leading this race, very experienced at this level, raced in this competition last year. Best result of 7th, as we say, at Marienburg. At the moment, he's on course to smash that record. There's a long way in this one to go. 2 good drivers behind as well. There's a change for 3rd place. Oliver Warner has got through past Austin Newstead, but remember again, Newstead often plays it cool in the first couple of laps of this race and then really starts to ramp it up when we get to halfway. We're still a good couple of laps away from that point, but it's the top 4. They've properly broken away now, Anthony. There's a good 1.2 second gap back to Stan Raczajski behind. There's a fusion train, though. We need to keep an eye on that. Raczajski, Sayer, Bobashov, all on the same team. 5th, 6th, 7th, surely they will start working together now to try and claw this breakaway back.
You would think that's probably the best thing they can do. The only downside that they've got is they've got to deal with the likes of, Navarro Morales. They've got to deal with Will Green. They've got to deal with Bruno Priam as well, also trying to get involved in that one. A look at some of the tyres, yeah, confirmation. So many drivers on the brand new set. They save them for this final. They don't get allocated a set for this. They've just used the one set throughout this entire weekend, and that's easily done in the cadet class. It is a relatively hard compound that they use in this one, so they do last. Look at the gap then between chasing Oliver Warner and chasing Romeo Mello for second. It's opening up a little bit, but visually there, that looks to me like it's coming down just that little bit onto the start-finish straight. I reckon Warner here is going to have the slipstream. The only danger that we've got right now is these 4 right here. They don't battle, they do push all together in one, and we have to wait, unfortunately, 7 laps until they start doing something. No, we're going to get it straight away. Mello to the inside, he goes for the lead. He does not want to deal with the chasing Warner and Newstead behind.
No, good move there from Mello, well timed. They've got to keep an eye on Will Green behind, who on a single lap has arguably been the quickest driver so far this weekend. Will Green has got up to 5th place now. Oliver Warner with the new fastest lap of the race, 1:11.480. Who else is making progress in this race? Antoine Venon's on the move, up 10 spots so far, is now sitting there in 14th place. So some really good stuff from the Frenchman. Also on the move is the Swedish champion, Ludwig Kronqvist, is up to 11th place. That's a gain of 7.
Years. Oh, he's fixated on these two. No other changes then while we've been waiting and watching. They are still Mello leading by Zdenek Babicek. Warner still there with Newstead in tow. The top 4 unbreakable at this moment in time as they wind it back up through the revs onto the start-finish straight. I don't suspect we're going to see a move again on this lap. Babicek will think better of it. We'll stay behind and think, right, we need to continue to break away here. Again, Penny, for your thoughts on this one. Is this what we're going to see then for these drivers? You know, it's going to be a rundown for really these top 4.
Well, I think they've got to work together because this is a crucial lap for Austin Newstead. If they can drop Austin Newstead, that's the second half of the race threat gone. That's a very good turn 4 for the BMR driver who's got to stay in that slipstream, keep it as a group of 4. But for these 3, I would say that's your biggest threat in terms of race pace in the last 3 or 4 laps. So if you can work together and drop the 374, that's a good thing to do. Investigation flag on our screens. Novelo Morales in the 867. So that's one of the high runners. That's the driver in 9th place right now, under the watchful eye of race control.
Yes, keeping an eye as well. Antoine Venet, you were called him out earlier on. Templars has gained up 13 positions now, up into nearly the top 10. Maxim Bovazov is the next target on Antoine Venet's sights there. Could he possibly come away with a top 10 finish in this one? That would be a good way to end a weekend, especially get some good championship points on the board. Back over the start-finish straight, then we go on to lap number 6 now of 11, and I've got to say, Austin Newstead appears to be fading a little bit here. He's not been able to keep up with this trio up in front. They have just glued themselves together. You have got 2 of the George Gibbons Motorsport drivers here with a TEPZ Racing team driver in the middle of it. And again, this is a tense time, I think, for Zdenek Babicek, because he's like, right, these 2 are going to work against me if they get the opportunity. So he's going to need to keep it there in second or go for the lead.
Very difficult position to be in when you're sandwiched by 2 teammates. There's a sign of the championship standing. So 25 points go to the winner of this race, 20 to second place, 16 to third, 13, 11, 10, and 9, and then it's 1 point down all the way to 15th place. Only the top 15 drivers in this final receive championship points of some sort at the end of the weekend. And with the scores as they are at the start of the season, effectively means if you win this race and you started fairly close to the front, you're going to be the championship leader, leaving Zuera this afternoon. End of lap number 6 then, into the second half. Mello, Babicek, Warner, 1, 2, 3. They are now more than a second clear of Austin Newstead. Austin Newstead's just going to stay calm at this point, because these 3, at some point in the race, the remaining 5 laps will fight. And if he can keep himself in that region, being 1.5 seconds back from them, he has a chance. It's a diminishing chance, but a chance still nonetheless. Mello, Babicek and Warner keeping line astern at the moment. They know the situation. It's way too early in the race to start fighting now. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, the progress from Antoine Venon continues, now up 14 places into the top 10. Look out for Luca Pavel as well. Up 13, is also into the top 15. That's into the points. Yep, certainly is. Again, points means prizes in this one because, like you say, only the 4 rounds as well means that these championships remain relatively close as well. It doesn't allow a driver to break away from the rest of it. We saw it last year, how close the finals were when we were at Henk. I suspect we'll see the same in the 2024 season. And fingers crossed, it's all new drivers this year that are going to give us this show. Back on the start-finish straight, Samuel Hugden unfortunately receives a warning flag. That will come with an in-race 5-second time penalty, so that'll be the end of really that race for Samuel Hugden, which is a big shame. Battles happening and a change for the lead because Zdenek Babicek now takes the lead through turn number 2. That was just off camera there as they go in towards turn number 4. So this is very early. We're only on lap 8 of 11. There's a couple of laps to go. Confirmation there of the black and white warning flag going out. So right, now it's down to Mello and Warner here now. Zdenek Babicek, he's put himself in a bit of a predicament here.
because Mello and Warner can now work together and use a double slipstream to really push themselves. Oh, no, Mello's going to go for it straight away. He's not going to wait around at all. He's going to go for the move. Babicek back down to second. Mello back into the lead of this one, and potentially puts himself back into the lead of the championship as well. So I suspect this race is far from over, and this is going to be hope that Newstead wanted, because he's got Will Green and he's got Bruno Priam that have closed in behind him as well. So now you're going to have two groups of three. Those three will not fight. They will try and close that gap up. It is still doable with the time they've got left.
Next 2 laps are crucial, massively crucial for the chase. 3. It's 3 at the front. 3 through 4th to 6th place. Mello, Babicek, Warner covered by a 10th and a half. There was a big chunk of time taken out by Newstead, Green and Priam on that last tour of the circuit. They'll be looking to do so again, especially if Mello, Babicek and Warner start fighting even more. It's that nervous energy at the front of the field. They've got to stay composed. They've got to stay in line, you would think. This is the move from Babicek down the inside. Fairly routine stuff into turn 2. I've got a huge toe out of turn 14 through 15, down turn 1. That's where you make it pay. Took the lead of the race, of course, Mello would strike back. Looking at the live feed on the right-hand side of your screens, they are now holding firm in this 1-2-3 train. What are the sector times like? 23 zeros for the front 3. They're quicker. They're quicker than the group behind as well, so they're doing the work that they need to at least solidify the podium positions for themselves. The question is, Anthony, what's the order going to be when we get to the end of 11 laps?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? So only a couple more laps to wait as we now go on to lap number 10. This is the penultimate lap of the race. The last lap board will be out next time, as now we go wheel to wheel. Babicek back to the inside here. He goes for the lead. Here comes Warner, though, goes wheel to wheel with his teammate, and he battles with Mello. Mello gets squeezed there into second place, but he holds on to that position. Babicek now leading the way. Now, remember, where did the overtake happen before? You can see Mello there saying to Babicek, right, go, go, go. There's no way Babicek's going to believe Mello on that one, that he's not going to attack in this one. He overtook when they went into the second hairpin. That is turn 7, which they're heading in towards now. Babicek will remember that. He's going to super glue that cut to the inside and squeeze them to the outside, and that's exactly what he does here. We'll have to watch them on the exit, but right now Babicek's got this one under control.
It is under control, but the second group, which is now 2 drivers, Green and Newstead, look at them, there they are. They've massively closed in on this last lap. They took 6 or 7 tenths out through sector number 1. They're going to take more time out here. The battle is truly on for the first win in X30 Mini for the IAMA Euro Series in 2024. They're going to come around the final corner, see the last lap board. Mello's down the inside, helped by his teammate Warner. It's a GGM 1-2 as they go on to the final lap. Babicek still there in third, but look at Green, look at Newstead. They're flying along them on the outside lane now. The 2 GGM teammates are fighting into turn number 2, switched back by Oliver Warner, who takes the lead.
This is great stuff now. They've got to be careful here. It's 5 karts battling for the lead of this race. 5 karts battling to lead the championship at the end of the first round. But right now, Oliver Warner has got an extensive gap. We were talking about him earlier. We thought it was going to be a long shot from the 6th row of the grid, and he's leading this one by nearly 0.6 of a second. How on earth has that happened? But he's made it happen here. Ollie Warner is on an absolute charge to the outside. Babicek trying to go the long way round, but he runs out wide. He's out of contention. Zdenek Babicek, it was a valiant effort, but it's not worked out for him at all. Mello's still there in second place, but here comes Newstead. Newstead back into P2. This is the battle for P2 now as Green goes down the inside. Will Green holding on to third place, and it's looking good at the moment. Warner is fine and dry. 1.3 seconds further up the road. He's celebrating well before the start-finish line as he makes his way across the line. For the United Kingdom, it is Oliver Warner. He takes the first final victory in the IAMA Euro Series in 2024. Austin Newstead takes second place from Will Green. It's a British 1-2-3 in Mini X30 here at Zuera. And what a drive that was. Oliver Warner gaining 10 positions in that final from the 11th row off the grid. No, sorry, not 11th row, sorry. 11th position on the grid, the 6th row of the grid. Absolutely phenomenal performance.
That's why we love X30 Mini. You can never predict what may happen, especially in these finals. didn't score any points from the intermediate classification because he was just outside the top 10. He takes 25 massive championship points. And for GGM, they're going to be in a good position with 2 karts in the top 5. Austin Newstead second, third for Will Green. A good response from Bruno Priam right at the end of that race as well, P4. You've got to feel for Zdenek Babicek, though.
Yep.
It is his best result in a final in his time in the IAME Euro Series. But it's 6th place. It could have been a win, and that's going to be a gutting moment for the young Czech driver.
There's a look then at the provisional classifications at the end of that one. Warner, Newstead, Green from Bruno Priam. Then it's Romeo Mello, Zdenek Babicek, Stan Rajaski, Jarlath Sayer, Navarro Morales, and Christian Kobe. The top 10 out there on circuit. Big moves all the way throughout the field, though. Antoine Fournier, 13 places gained, finishing in P11. Bobajov just behind in 12th place from Grand Chris. Then it was Noah Grenier, Anton Bouchard from Harley Muss, Luca Pavel from Colby Patterson, Sukmani Kira with some good positions gained there as well in P19. George Howe, 7 positions gained, rounding out the top 20 from Freddie Wood, Tony Casciafero, Harry Williams, Matthias Brogeau, Patrick Christensen. The top 25, gaining 11 positions in that one as well. Gonzalez, Perello, Longatano, El Gahudi, Hugden, Medina, then it's Ferguson, Greeland, Gibson, Cruz, and Balunde, all 36 karts who started, finished. Crucially, at the end of that race, while we go through some of the highlights of this one, Austin Newstead will lead the championship by 1 point from Oliver Warner. How close do you want to be at the end of that one? The highlights here, though, there were many, but it was a nice, clean breakaway at the start, though. But how did they get there, Andrew?
Well, it's all about the inside line working together. First, third, and fifth on the grid became first, second, and third in the race as they headed towards turn number 2. But keep an eye out for Oliver Warner, the blue and white kart 8, number 4, having that mega start that we talked about before the race that we have seen him do so far this weekend here at Zuera. We saw him do it at Valencia as well. When he's in that position, he's a cool and collected customer. Pretty clean start, with only 1 kart having a bit of bother on that first lap as they all ran into turn number 5. In the early stages, Babicek looking to control the pace. That was the first sign for me, Anthony, of the pace of Oliver Warner. All of a sudden, even on lap 1, he'd appeared on the scene in 4th place, did a majority of his work getting through the field on that first lap, and then it's this top 4 away at the front of the order. Babicek, Mello, our winner, Warner, and Newstead as well. The first three working together very well in the first half of the race to drop Austin Newstead. But then the battle, it started a bit earlier than we were expecting, Anthony. We normally see this happen in the last couple of laps, but it was 4 laps in the end you started getting the 3 of them going back and forth, and that would bring the likes of Newstead and Green back into play.
Well, you always see it, don't you? You may think that, 3 seconds, that's such a big gap. There's no way they're going to close it. Trust me, when they start battling like this at the front, they lose so much time. And it just proved it there, how quickly they closed in, even over the last 2 laps. Zdenek Babicek taking the lead then. He had this decision to take that. Obviously, it was a very tough decision for him. You know, he's got 2 frenemies against him here, 2 teammates who are battling with each other all the way. That was the moment that they got the slipstream, and that was the bit I was telling you that he had to watch out. At that point, he dropped back to Will Green and Austin Newstead just behind because he needed that bump draft. He needed that assistance to help push himself up, which it did help out, but it was at this point here where Mello went defensive. It really gave Warner the win before they even finised the last lap. I suppose
there was a bit of an assist there from the GGM teammates. It was a bold move. You've got to give it to Zdenek Babicek for having a go there. But the second you're out in the dust here, it's a wide track, but there's no big tarmac runoffs here. It's where once you go beyond the white lines, you're going to be losing a lot of time. But what a win.
A fantastic final. We'll now ask James Geidel, the CEO for RGMNC, to present the trophies to the Mini X30 categories. Firstly, to 3rd place, Will Green. The 2nd place trophy going to United Kingdom's Austin Newstead. And the 1st place trophy going also to the United Kingdom's Oliver Warner. And finally, the team's trophy being represented to George Gibbons. So drivers, hold those trophies nice and high up for me, please. And nice big smiles for the photographers, please. Nice big smiles, trophies high up in the air. Absolutely fantastic. We'll now bring on probably the best part of it. George, feel free to duck and cover at this point. It's probably the safest thing to do as we get ready with the champagne. Alcohol-free, of course, for the Mini drivers who are out there. And Oliver Warner gets a fantastic shower of champagne. Oliver, don't go away too far. Come back over to the podium for me, please, as we'll have a quick chat about that race. Oliver, that was a hard-fought one there. The camera just behind you. Come to this side for me. The camera's just over there. Oliver, a brilliant race for yourself. Hard-fought, but lots had to happen on that one. How do you feel? You've come out on top at the first round here at the IAMA Euro Series.
It's a bit unbelievable. It's all a blur. Not really any words at the moment. It's amazing.
I'm sure you'll appreciate that suit now being covered in champagne now, but certainly a fantastic result. Franciacorta coming up next. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, hoping for the win again to see if we can get a championship lead.
It's a long old championship, but 1 round out of 3 down, and you come out on top. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Well, guys, if we want to come back, collect helmets and trophies, give it up once more for your Mini X30 finalist winners.